galaxy was at war. Not one war, not two, hundreds. Across countless star systems, alien fleets clashed without rest. Space burned with light and noise. Weapons flashed like small stars being born and dying in seconds. Battle signals flooded every channel. Commanders shouted orders. Pilots screamed warnings. Distress calls overlapped until they became noise. This was normal. The galaxy had lived in war for so long that silence was more frightening than destruction. Then something strange happened. In the outer regions of known space, entire star systems went quiet. At first, no one noticed. One missing report meant nothing during war. Sensors failed all the time. Ships were destroyed every second. Silence was common for a moment, but this silence did not end. No distress calls came from the region. No battle noise followed. No emergency signals repeated. Just nothing. Galactic monitoring stations flagged the area as inactive. Analysts assumed heavy jamming or sensor damage, a routine error. War created chaos, and chaos confused machines. Then another system went silent, then another. Each one vanished the same way. One moment full of life, ships, weapons, movement. The next empty. No wreckage fields appeared. No radiation storms. No debris clouds. Enemy fleets were simply gone. Galactic sensors ran deep scans and returned the same result every time. Confirmed loss. No remains detected. No energy traces detected. The impossible was happening. Alien commanders grew angry. They accused the sensor guilds of failure. Technicians were threatened. Systems were rebooted. Older probes were sent to confirm the data. The results did not change. Entire fleets, thousands of ships had vanished without a trace. In the Central War Network, arguments exploded. Some claimed a new secret weapon was in use. Others believed a hidden empire had entered the war. A few whispered about ancient forces waking from deep space. Still, no one was afraid. Not yet. Then a junior analyst noticed something small. Her station was quiet, far from command halls and war rooms. She had no rank and no authority. Her job was to watch patterns that most ignored. She looked at the map again. The silent zones formed a curve, not random, not scattered, connected. Her fingers trembled as she overlaid another layer of data. Human space. The silent system sat close to it. Too close. She frowned. Humans were not considered a threat. Everyone knew that. Humans were young, emotional, too divided, too loud, too slow to master real war. They relied on numbers, not strategy. Passion, not patience. Humans lost ships easily. They bled easily. The galaxy laughed at humans. The analyst almost laughed too. Almost. But something felt wrong. Human space had been quiet for a long time. No expansion. No battles. No calls for help. No threats. Humans had pulled back from galactic politics decades ago. Many believed they were declining. Some thought they were close to collapse. Quiet did not match humans. She sent her findings up the chain. They were ignored. Hours later, a deep space probe crossed into one of the silent regions. It was an old machine, slow but reliable. Its sensors were simple, trusted, hard to trick. The probe sent steady data at first. Empty space, cold stars, no signal. Then something appeared. The probe sensors began to fail, one by one. Space around it bent slightly like heat rising from stone. Distances changed. Light stretched. The probe adjusted. Its final message burst across all channels without encryption, without warning. Unknown human warships detected. Command centers froze. Power source unreadable. Technicians stared at the screens. There was no fusion signature, no antimatter trace, no known energy pattern. Space around them collapsing. The message cut off mid-word. The probe went dark. No explosion. No wreckage. No signal echo. Gone. The recording replayed again and again across the network. Analysts slowed it down, enhanced it. Isolated noise. They saw shapes. Massive shapes. Dark shapes. Ships that did not shine like others. Ships that swallowed light instead of reflecting it. Their outlines were unclear, as if reality itself avoided them. Human design. Impossible human design. Impossible human design. Laughter died across the galaxy. Commanders who once mocked humans fell silent. Old admirals stared at the map without speaking. War councils delayed votes. Machine minds paused their calculations, unable to find solutions. The stars remained silent. No more fleets vanished after that, not because the danger ended, but because no one dared to move. For the first time in generations, the galaxy felt something new. Not fear of destruction, fear of the unknown, fear of what humans had become in silence. And far beyond the maps, hidden behind bending space and dark mass, human warships continued to drift forward, waiting. The galaxy did not sleep that cycle. After the probe vanished, no one joked about humans anymore. War councils stayed open. Screens remained active. Admirals who had commanded fleets for centuries sat in silence, watching the same data repeat again and again. Human warships, unknown power, space collapsing. The phrase echoed through every command hall. Some leaders refused to believe it. Humans were traitors, builders, talkers. They argued among themselves more than they fought others. Their ships were always loud, bright, and fragile. At least, that was what the records said. But records could lie. Emergency meetings spread across the galaxy. Ancient empires reopened sealed chambers. Machine minds increased prediction cycles until their cores overheated. Religious species searched old warnings hidden in forgotten texts. One question burned everywhere. What did humans do while the galaxy ignored them? Human space was scanned again. Once it had been full of signals, civil traffic, music broadcasts, open channels. Humans loved noise. They filled space with it. Now there was almost nothing. No civilian chatter, no trade beacons, no military warnings, only controlled, narrow signals moving between deep points in space. Cold, precise, efficient. That alone frightened many observers. Human ambassadors were contacted, no response. Human trade stations were pinged, no response. Old human allies sent private messages hoping for answers, silence. The galaxy had grown used to humans talking too much. Their silence felt wrong. A scouting fleet was assembled near the border of human space. It was not meant to fight, only to observe, only to confirm what the sensors already showed. The fleet included ships from 6 species, old rivals forced to work together. Their commanders agreed on one thing: do not provoke the humans. The fleet crossed into the outer edge of human territory. Nothing happened. No alarms, no warnings, no defense grids. Human space looked empty. Some commanders relaxed. They whispered that the probe must have failed, that the silence was coincidence, that the galaxy had scared itself for nothing. Then space shifted. Not violently, not suddenly. It felt like pressure. Sensors reported small changes in gravity. Distances between ships altered by tiny amounts. Navigation systems adjusted without command. Then the scouts saw them. The human warships did not arrive with light or noise. They were simply there. Huge shapes slid out of folded space like shadows becoming solid. Their hulls were black, but not the kind of black that reflected stars. This black swallowed light. Even scanners struggled to define their edges. They were massive, bigger than most capital ships, long and curved, like blades carved from darkness. No engine glow, no weapon charge, no shield flare. They did not aim weapons. They did not move to attack. They waited. The scout fleet froze. Commanders tried to speak. Channels opened. Translations prepared. Formal greetings sent in dozens of languages. No reply came. One human ship drifted closer. Not fast, not aggressive, calm. Scanners screamed warnings as the space around the ship twisted. Mass readings spiked, then vanished. Calculations failed. Physics models broke down. A science officer whispered what no one wanted to say. That ship isn't using power, she said. It's holding something. What? A commander asked. She swallowed. Dark matter. Controlled. Shaped. The word spread through the fleet like poison. Dark matter was not fuel. Not in any known science. It could not be touched, stored, or controlled. Except humans had done it. The human ship stopped again, closer now. The space between fleets felt heavy, like breathing underwater. Then a single human signal appeared, clear, calm, short. This is a restricted zone. The translator worked instantly. The voice was human, not angry, not loud, controlled. A commander forced himself to respond. We seek only information, he said carefully. The galaxy is concerned. There was a pause. Then the human replied. The galaxy chose war, the voice said. Humans chose containment. The words confused many listeners. Containment of what? The commander asked. There was another pause, longer this time. Of you, the human answered. Before anyone could react, the human warships turned away. Not fleeing, not retreating. They simply left, sliding back into bent space, disappearing without light or sound. The scout fleet remained frozen long after they were gone. No attack had occurred, no threats were made, and yet every commander understood the message. Humans were not hiding, they were watching. The galaxy had spent centuries believing humans were weak because they were emotional. Now it understood the truth. Humans had learned patience, and patience, combined with power, was far more dangerous than rage. As the scout fleet withdrew, one final update spread through the network. More silent zones had appeared, closer to the warfronts, closer to active fleets. The stars were not going quiet by accident. They were being silenced on purpose, and humanity was deciding where the silence would fall next. The galaxy could no longer pretend. Silence spread faster than war ever had. Wherever fighting was heavy, stars went quiet soon after. Entire battle zones vanished from the maps. Not destroyed, not burning, simply erased from active space. Commanders stopped advancing. Fleets held position. Some turned back. Others waited, frozen by fear they could not name. Still, a few refused to accept reality. One empire, old and proud, decided to test the humans. They believed no species could control dark matter. They believed the probe data was false. They believed fear was spreading faster than truth. They gathered a strike force. It was large, hundreds of ships, carriers, dreadnoughts, and weapon platforms built to break worlds. They moved toward a major war zone near Human Space 1, already marked by growing silence. The goal was simple: draw the humans out. The fleet entered the region with weapons armed and shields high. Their sensors scanned constantly. Commanders shouted orders, trying to keep control as unease spread through their crews. Then the stars dimmed. Not dark, dim, as if someone turned down the universe itself. Human warships appeared, not all at once. One, then another, then dozens. Did not surround the fleet. They drifted, slow and calm, like predators that did not need to rush. The alien fleet opened communication channels. No reply. Warnings were sent. No reply. Threats followed. Still nothing. Fear turned into anger. The order to fire came quickly after that. Weapons flared. Energy beams screamed across space. Missiles launched in waves. Kinetic rounds tore forward at impossible speeds. None of them reached the human ships. Space twisted. Beams bent away. Missiles stretched, slowed, and fell apart. Solid rounds vanished as if swallowed by invisible mouths. The alien fleet stared in disbelief. Human ships did not raise shields. They did not dodge. They did not fire back. Then one human warship moved forward. Just one. As it passed near the front line of the alien fleet, gravity surged. Ships groaned. Hulls cracked. Crews screamed as their bodies were pressed flat by forces they could not see. Then the human ship activated something. There was no flash, no explosion, no sound. A section of space collapsed inward. 5 alien ships disappeared instantly. Not destroyed, not broken, gone. The gap they left behind closed smoothly, like water after a stone sinks. Panic exploded across the fleet. Orders overlapped. Ships tried to flee. Some fired wildly. Others shut down weapons, hoping surrender was possible. Another human ship moved. Another section of space folded. More ships vanished. No debris. No radiation. No remains. The battle lasted less than a minute. When it ended, the alien strike force no longer existed. Where hundreds of ships once floated, there was now empty space and silence. The human fleet stopped moving. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a human broadcast went out across all channels, all languages. "This war zone is closed," the voice said calmly. "Leave," the message repeated. Once, twice, then the human ships turned away and vanished into folded space. Across the galaxy, every observer had seen it. Every empire, every warlord, every machine mind. There was no debate now. Humans were not fighting wars. They were removing them. Panic followed. Fleets retreated in every direction. Alliances collapsed. Old enemies declared sudden ceasefires. Worlds shut down military production overnight. War had become too dangerous, not because of destruction, but because of erasure. Scientists worked without rest, trying to understand what they had seen. The truth came slowly, piece by piece. Human warships did not fire weapons in the traditional sense. They carried fields of controlled dark matter shaped, contained, and stabilized by unknown technology. These fields bent gravity, twisted time, and crushed space itself. The ships did not destroy enemies. They made the space they occupied unable to exist. To fight humans was to fight reality. Human command structures were revealed next. They had no central war leader, no shouting admirals, no emotional decisions. Human fleets operated under strict rules. Only war zones were targeted. Only active fleets were removed. Civilian systems were untouched. Supply lines were ignored. It was not conquest. It was enforcement. A word began to spread in whispered conversations across the galaxy. Wardens. Humans had become wardens of war, and wardens did not negotiate. Deep within human space, commanders watched the same data the galaxy did. They spoke little. They did not celebrate. One officer asked the question many feared. How long until they push back harder? A senior commander answered quietly, as long as they keep choosing war. Elsewhere, ancient leaders gathered and reached the same conclusion. If they wanted to survive, they would have to face humanity, not as an enemy, but as something far worse, a judge. And as the stars stayed silent, the galaxy prepared for a confrontation that would decide who truly controlled the future of space. The galaxy stopped pretending war was normal. After the battle that was not a battle, panic spread faster than any fleet ever could. Star systems shut their borders. Defense stations powered down weapons they had once shown proudly. Admirals who had ruled battlefields for centuries now avoided open space. No one wanted to be noticed, because being noticed by humans meant silence. Scientists, historians, and machine minds worked together for the first time in generations. They searched old records, ancient warnings, forgotten human research papers dismissed long ago as theory or madness. Slowly, a terrible picture formed. Humans had not suddenly become powerful. They had been preparing. Long before the galaxy's wars grew endless, humans had studied what others feared: dark matter, the invisible mass that shaped galaxies but could not be touched. Other species avoided it. Some worshipped it. Most ignored it. Humans did not ignore it. They asked a simple question: what if it could be held? At first, even humans failed. Early experiments destroyed stations. Ships vanished. Crews were lost without bodies or signals. Many believed the research should stop, but humans were stubborn. They learned to listen to the darkness instead of fighting it. They built containment fields that did not resist dark matter but guided it. They stopped forcing space to obey and began allowing it to bend naturally. Their first success terrified them. A small test object disappeared without heat, light, or force. No explosion, no damage, just absence. Humans realized then that they had found something worse than a weapon. They had found a way to remove things from reality, so they hid it. They left galactic politics. They slowed expansion. They pretended to be weak, divided, emotional. They let others underestimate them. While the galaxy burned itself in war, humans built quietly. By the time alien fleets noticed silence near human space, it was already too late. This truth spread slowly across the galaxy, and with it came fear deeper than any before. Because the humans were not using their full power, observers now understood the terrifying limit humans had placed on themselves. Dark matter warships were capable of far more than erasing fleets. They could collapse stars. They could bend planetary orbits. They could tear open space itself. But humans chose not to. They only removed warships. They only silenced battlefields. Why? That question haunted every council chamber. The answer came from an intercepted human transmission leaked by a former ally. "We do not rule because we do not trust ourselves," a human voice said. "We do not conquer because we know what we could become." The galaxy did not know how to respond to that. Some species tried diplomacy again. They sent messages of peace, apologies, promises of reform. Human responses were short: disarm, withdraw, stop, no threats, no negotiation. Others planned resistance. A coalition of ancient empires gathered in secret. They shared forbidden weapons, reality cutters, time distorters, experimental devices that had once destroyed their own creators. They believed that if they struck fast and together, humanity could be overwhelmed. The coalition launched its fleet toward a human-controlled silence zone. This time, humans did not wait. Dark matter warships appeared immediately. But something was different. There were more of them, many more. They formed a wide arc, blocking entire star lanes. Space trembled under their presence. Sensors failed instantly. Navigation collapsed. The Coalition fired everything they had. Reality-cutting beams tore through space. Human ships absorbed them. Time weapons activated. Human ships ignored them. The Coalition's greatest weapon fired a device meant to rip open space permanently. The human response was immediate. All dark matter warships activated at once. The space between fleets folded inward. The Coalition fleet vanished in a single moment. Not ship by ship, not section by section. The entire fleet ceased to exist. The stars behind them reappeared, unchanged. Silence returned. Across the galaxy something broke. Not fleets, not governments. Belief. The belief that power belonged to the old. The belief that humanity was still young. The belief that war was inevitable. From that moment on, every species understood the truth. Human restraint was the only thing keeping the galaxy intact. And restraint could end. Human fleets increased patrols. Silent zones stabilized. Wars collapsed without battles. Old conflicts ended not through victory, but disappearance. Children grew up without hearing constant battle reports. For the first time in centuries, space felt calm. But calm carried fear, because everyone knew one thing. If humans ever decided the galaxy itself was the problem, there would be no war, there would be no resistance, there would only be silence. And far within human command space, a senior officer looked at the maps and spoke the words that would shape the future. We are running out of time. Soon. The galaxy had learned to fear silence. But fear did not bring peace. It brought desperation. As wars ended without battles and fleets vanished without warning, many species felt trapped. Their weapons meant nothing. Their numbers meant nothing. Their history meant nothing. Everything depended on human choice. Some accepted this. Others could not. A final coalition formed in secret made up of species that had once ruled star empires. They were old, proud, angry. They believed the galaxy had been stolen from them by a species that should never have risen so high. They called humanity a mistake. The coalition leaders agreed on one plan. If humans controlled war, then humans had to be removed. They gathered everything they had left. Hidden fleets, experimental weapons, ancient machines locked away for thousands of years. Their goal was not victory, it was chaos. They planned to strike deep into human space, not at fleets, but at worlds, at research stations, at civilian systems. If humans were forced to defend their own people, the galaxy believed they would reveal weakness or lose control. The attack began without warning. Multiple fleets jumped at once, tearing through deep human territory. They targeted infrastructure, not ships. Communication hubs went dark. Civilian stations were destroyed. Human colonies burned for the first time in generations. Across the galaxy, observers held their breath. This was the line. If humans answered with rage, everything would end. Human command reacted instantly. Dark matter warships appeared across human space faster than ever before. Silence zones expanded. Coalition fleets vanished in seconds. But something had changed. Human ships did not only remove fleets this time, they surrounded attacking systems. They held position. They waited. For the first time, humans broadcast a long message across all channels. Every species heard it. The voice was calm, but heavy. You have crossed a boundary, the humans said. We allowed war to end without punishment. You chose to make it personal. The message paused, then continued. We will not erase the galaxy, but we will change it. Human warships activated in ways never seen before. Dark matter fields expanded outward, not inward. Entire regions of space became locked. Jump drives failed. Weapons systems shut down. Power grids collapsed. Space itself refused to obey anyone but humans. The coalition fleets were trapped. They could not flee. They could not fight. They could only wait. Human forces boarded the disabled ships, not with soldiers, but with machines. Crews were removed safely. Weapons were dismantled. Commanders were taken alive. No executions. No revenge. The galaxy did not understand. Why spare them? The answer came days later. Human representatives appeared before a newly formed galactic assembly. This time, they did not sit at the lowest table. They did not sit at any table. They stood alone. We do not seek rule, the human speaker said. We seek survival. A new system was announced. No standing fleets beyond planetary defense. No interstellar weapons without shared oversight. No wars without consequence. Any violation would result in immediate containment, permanent containment, not destruction, removal. Some protested. They were silenced by memory. The assembly voted, not because they agreed, but because they were afraid to refuse. The galaxy changed overnight. Shipyards closed, armies disbanded, borders softened, trade returned slowly, carefully. Human warships withdrew from most regions. Silent zones faded. Stars spoke again. Yet fear remained, because humanity had proven something terrifying. They could end all wars, and they chose not to rule afterward. That restraint unsettled everyone. Years passed. A generation grew up under the new order. Children learned history differently, not through tales of conquest, but through warnings. War almost ended everything. Humans stopped it. Do not make them return. Deep in human space, commanders watched quietly. They did not celebrate. They did not relax. They knew peace built on fear was fragile. One human officer voiced the concern aloud. What happens when they stop fearing us? A senior commander answered slowly. Then we remind them why we chose silence instead of extinction. The stars burned calmly. The galaxy breathed again. But far beyond known space, sensors detected movement. Something ancient, something watching, and for the first time since unleashing the dark matter warships, human command felt uneasy because they knew one truth above all others. They had ended war within the galaxy, but the universe was far larger than the galaxy, and silence, once broken, always attracted attention. The galaxy enjoyed peace. For the first time in known history, star maps stopped changing because of war. Trade routes reopened. Old enemies shared space lanes. Worlds rebuilt cities instead of weapons. But peace built on fear was never comfortable. Every species knew the truth. This peace existed because humans allowed it. Human dark matter warships no longer filled the skies. Most had vanished back into deep space, hiding beyond sensors and maps. Silent zones faded. The stars spoke again. Still, everyone remembered. They remembered fleets erased without fire. They remembered battles ended without sound. They remembered how quickly war had become impossible. And they wondered, what would make humans return? That question was answered sooner than expected. Far beyond the galaxy's edge, something old began to move. It had watched quietly for a long time. It had seen empires rise and fall. Wars meant nothing to it. Civilizations were brief flashes in an endless dark. But something new had appeared. Silence. Not natural silence. Not the silence of empty space. This silence was forced, contained, controlled. The ancient presence did not understand that, so it came closer. At first, only human sensors noticed. Deep arrays built to detect impossible forces lit up with warning. Space trembled in patterns humans recognized as danger. Human command did not panic. They gathered. For the first time since the war ended, dark matter warships moved again. Not toward the galaxy, but outward. Other species noticed the movement quickly. Fear returned. Messages flooded human channels. What is happening? Are we under threat? Is the peace ending? Human response was delayed. Then a broadcast reached every system. Calm, clear, human. The peace remains, the message said. But the galaxy is not alone. The words chilled listeners. Human scientists had discovered the truth long ago. The universe was filled with watchers. Most ignored younger species. But power always attracted attention. By using dark matter to silence wars, humans had done something impossible. They had disturbed the deep structure of space. Something ancient had noticed. The entity crossed into the edge of controlled space without warning. Sensors failed instantly. Gravity twisted. Entire star lanes warped. It did not speak. It did not need to. Its presence alone crushed fleets that dared to observe. Alien panic returned stronger than ever. This threat was not human. This threat did not fear humans. Human fleets formed a defensive line far from civilian systems. Dark matter warships, aligned in perfect spacing, creating fields never before used. Human commanders spoke quietly. This is what we feared, one said. This is why we never ruled, another answered. The entity advanced. Stars dimmed around it. Space screamed. Human warships activated fully. For the first time, the galaxy saw their true purpose. They were not weapons, they were anchors. dark matter fields expanded outward, gripping space itself. Reality stabilized around the human fleet, resisting the entity's influence. The entity pushed harder. Stars near the battlefield began to tear apart. Human commanders made the choice they had avoided for centuries. They did not erase the entity. They contained it. Every dark matter warship locked together, forming a massive structure in space. Gravity surged. Time slowed. Space folded inward and froze. The entity stopped moving, not destroyed, trapped forever. The effort cost humanity dearly. Several warships were lost. Entire crews vanished without pain or sound. Human space shook under the strain. When it ended, silence returned. But this time it felt different. The galaxy understood now. Humans were not silent because they were weak. They were silent because they were holding the universe together. Human fleets withdrew again, slower this time. Human command sent one final message to the galaxy. "We never wanted fear to be the reason for peace," the voice said. "We wanted time. Time for you to grow. Time for us to protect without ruling." The message ended with words no one would forget. When humans unleashed dark matter warships, the stars went silent so that they could keep shining. Years passed, the galaxy remembered, not humans as conquerors, not humans as rulers, but humans as the species that could have taken everything and chose restraint instead. Children across worlds learned a new lesson. Power without control destroys everything. Control without compassion creates monsters. Humanity had chosen a harder path, and because of that choice, the stars were still there, shining, silent only when they needed to be.